with questions like these, there's a danger of giving away points because, question looks easy, we read it quick, we get an answer quick. It's all about speed, and of course, speed is important for this test, but not at the cost of accuracy and executing appropriately. So, yeah, sometimes these are pretty fast, especially but though when you get towards the end of a module, just double check your work before you commit to an answer. Because in this case, it's very easy to say, well, look, Miguel's getting $50 for the first 2 hours and then $20 per hour after that. And so we could look at something like choice C and say, well, there's the initial $50 that he's earning, and then here's 20x. That's the amount of money he's earning, after that, 20 times x. And we put C, and we move on, and we get it wrong. Because we have to account for the fact, this is one of those famous double counting problems, that the $20 per hour is after the first 2 hours. And the problem with a choice like C is we're essentially being paid for those first 2 hours twice. We're being paid the $50 for the first 2 hours here, and then we're also being paid $20 per hour for those 2 hours again. And one way to illustrate this is just imagine if x equaled 5. Let's say Miguel's working for 5 hours. What would be the breakdown in his pay? Well, for the first 2 hours, he'd get 50. And then for the next 3 hours, right, the hours after the first 2, he'd get 20 per hour. So that would be 3 times 20, which is 60. And so the total pay should be 110. And notice if I plug x equals 5 into choice C, we get 150, which doesn't match. Again, because we're double counting those first 2 hours. We're getting paid for them here and here. So how do we adjust for this? Right away, notice if I go ahead and plug in x equals 5 into my choices, we see that choice B works because 20 times 5 is 100. 100 plus 10 is 110. But what if we wanted to solve this algebraically? And you might also be wondering, where's this 10 coming from? That seems a bit weird. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to start with that $50 that he's going to earn for the first 2 hours. And to that, we're going to add the hourly pay after those first 2 hours. But we can't just do 20x because that x, again, includes the first 2 hours. So we're going to make a small adjustment. And this is usually how these problems go. Instead, we're going to multiply 20 by x minus 2. And the minus 2 is coming from the fact that we want to subtract off those 2 hours that we've already gotten paid for and just be left with the hours above the first 2, right? So again, if x is 5, 5 minus 2 is 3. This only applies the $20 rate to those 3 hours. So here is the expression or the equation that we should get to get us C, which is the amount that he charges. And so now if we just do some rearrangement, distribute that 20, we get 20x minus 40, and now we'll combine our 50 and our minus 40, and there comes the plus 10, and that gets us choice B. So it's good to be speedy, but just don't go too fast and make an avoidable mistake. So just give your work a double check. Check your assumptions, especially when you get later in a module.